good conversation, you gotta tune in to Coffee and Conversation with Collette. That's me. Thursday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the only station, WHPR TV 33. See you soon. Great, amazing morning to you. Rise and shine up and at 'em. It's a phenomenal new day. It's Friday, everybody. You're officially tuned in to Coffee and Conversation with Collette, and I'm Collette, and you all know I do my curtsy. I haven't done my curtsy in a while, right? See what I'm talking about? No one even brought that to my attention, right? I never want to be disrespectful, so I do my curtsy because that's the reverence that I show you. Because as I share with you, I know that you could be anywhere doing anything, and you make the conscious decision to tune into WHPR TV 33, and whether it's Comcast 91 or watching us through Roku or a website or streaming live or a smoke signals, whatever it is, you're here and you want to be a part of the conversation. Renee, team is everything. And I get so spoiled here, let me just tell you, because they're amazing people that greet me in this space in the morning. That's Renee, who's just the bright sunshine. And so she has coffee, and she's so kind because she's right over here. Look at all beautiful. You want to wave at everybody, Renee? Come on in. Everyone, y'all see Renee? Great, amazing morning to her. Hey, Renee. I keep trying to get her on this other side of the mic with me. Thank you so much. So she, you know, I guess since we're going to have the conversations, and normally we do the other coffee, she's like, no, Colette, we're going to do some organic coffee. So she's so kind to prepare the organic coffee in my special Joy cup. Isn't that so nice? So thank you so much. I so appreciate you, Renee. And of course, Sean, we have to, my team gets me together in the morning. So thank you so much. He picked these glasses on today. You got to be able to smile. I mean, it means everything. I share with us all the time that your attitude determines your altitude. Let me stress that to you again. If you didn't get it on this morning, your attitude determines your altitude. How high you go, where you're going to go, where you even can think that you're going to go, fathom where you're going to go. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. You all remember that. My dad had me reading that when I was 10. And it's that little book, and it's about 40 pages, and I was reading it at 10 years old. But it formulated the ability to think. Majority of us, as we share and we talk about it, I know we're uncomfortable with it. We don't think. We just regurgitate information. So we capture it through the visuals, through the conversations, through the textbooks that put you in a box, but we don't think of how to make it work. We don't think of how to actually really apply it. And in my opinion, the application is the realization of this America dream, this ideology of America. Because we've consistently gone through example after example after example that lets us know that the forefathers and mothers were about power and control. Capitalism, okay? And the best way to do that is to create a plan, know the plan, identify the workers, and make it happen. And so those are the conversations that we have had that have brought us up to today. And I promise you, as I always share, that no matter what, when it is over, our 2 hours of power today, it's over, you're going to be educated, enlightened, and empowered. How's that? And we always agree that there's more than one way to have a conversation. I'm going to set up the call lines for you already. 313-868-0342, 313-868-0351, and 313-868-4336. I have a couple of housekeeping items, if I can. I want to give my sincerest, I don't even think that I have the words to adequately express the thoughts and the energy that I'm sending out to Isha Price and her family, the family, Sheffield family, and the transition, I believe, of the great-grandmother. And so my thoughts and prayers are with you and the family. I also want to share that energy and love to Lise Vaughn, a classmate from high school. She will be burying her son all too soon. And it's just unfathomable. And I don't have the words, but just know that I am praying with you and for you, as so many others are. And we serve an awesome God. And I know that when we're going through things, a lot of times we don't see that. You don't feel that. It doesn't look that way. But just know that you are not alone. And there are individuals who love you and care for you and support you. And so it's with that conversation as well that I want to thank you. Look now. It is so amazing when you walk in and this is your mail. Look, everybody. That's so nice. I have mail. So I'm going to read all of this mail and be able to respond. I love it. I love it because that shows that you all are committed to the conversations that we have. And of course, you want to give me additional information, economic empowerment. I love it. I love it. Before we get there, we're going to talk about personal empowerment. We're going to talk about mental health. I shared with us yesterday that the only health that matters is mental health. The mental health is the basis for the rest of our health, our physical health, our well being, our emotional health, our spiritual health. But if you aren't able to identify what is going on with you mentally, it can be problematic in all those other areas. And so, on the honest of this week, we have experienced a lot of issues that could have an effect on our mental health, specifically as it relates to our lives and how we govern our lives and how we deal with the challenges of our lives and what those results look like. There have been several people throughout the years. I don't have to give names. Those of you who've actually had those experiences with people who have chosen in the midst of all of it to remove themselves from this physical existence, to take their own lives. I know that you know what that looks like. I acknowledge that what we were looking at as an international level this week was brought to our attention by the suicide of Kate Spade, top designer, in her home. A letter was left, to my understanding, reading the reports from the New York Times and Washington Post and the like. You know, I like to cite my sources. And that she left a note that probably alluded to some other things, maybe giving an understanding to her teenage daughter that is still here. And of course, she has a husband. But at the end of the day, the conversation surrounds how we deal with our challenges, how we deal with our stresses. And I share with you even more so in the 48204 zip code where the Dable Sheffield Center is located, primary area in which we service, but the city overall, there's an uptick in suiciding for young people, middle school teenagers specifically. And I just had to give a deliberate pause because I want that to sink in with you. That we're dealing with young people who have made the decision for whatever reason, if it's the bullying, if it's the life pressures, that I believe that it will be best for me if I'm no longer in this space. And I wonder if you all have a problem with that. I wonder if you are in a space where you can realize that there perhaps have been some conversations, excuse me, excuse me, where people are really looking out and wishing that they had help, looking for help, crying for help. So I asked this on yesterday, if you are engaging with someone, and sometimes it just takes a moment. Sometimes you don't never know who you are entertaining. So it doesn't hurt you to say good morning. It doesn't stop to say, how are you? It is not a problem when you see someone to stop, look them in the face, gain eye contact, say good morning, ask, how are you? Because that one conversation might be the life that you save. Do I need to give that to you again? It is so important. I think in the midst of all this technology and everything that we are enduring and this fast pace and this desire to acquire and this a desire to assimilate and this desire to accumulate all of these things, these intangibles, I believe that everyone says, oh, it's tangible, but at the end of the day, it means nothing. It has no value. It's stuff. Because if you don't have a mental position, if you don't have a stronghold in what it looks like, it will all be for naught. You'll keep working to fill the voids, to put the stuff in the space, and you will still end up empty. Do I need to say that to you again? You will keep working to fill the voids, and then you will still end up empty because it's something on the inside. And I pray that we get to a space in our lives where we are challenged, where we challenge ourselves to realize that it's just stuff. And that there has to be a connection. When it's all said and done, what do you want your story to be? Are you living your truths right now? The difference is that are you making them right now, or is it when you're laid out, or when you are no longer in this form, perhaps cremated, whatever it looks like, because we don't know how to live. So we definitely don't want to talk about death. But when you die, whether you have a literal or a figurative death, let me say that again, literally or figuratively. So you can physically die, the existence of you, but you could be a walking dead. And so I presented to us yesterday, what does that look like? Because so many of us have just given up on life. We've given up on our greatness. We've given up on how to address the challenges that would prohibit us from moving forward. And so many of us, then again, live in the facade where we want to convince ourselves and others that we have it all together, and we're still the walking dead. So you can have a literal death and you can have a figurative death, but at the end of the day, it is still death. And that's not what I desire for us. I share with you that I share my stories. I'm very transparent on these TV airwaves, and because I want you to know that it's a facade, that I hurt, I have traumatic experiences, I work to gain understanding. It is a process every day. And so that you are not alone. And so it is in that vein I share with you all the open invitation on today. You all know that normally the Dabo Sheffield Center hosts First Friday movie night, which would have been the first Friday of every month, which would have been last Friday. And normally we have Bon Appetit catering, so we're so proud to be able to have that. But on tonight, it's something a little different. We're still going to have food. It's going to be that outdoor grill type of experience. But Erica Alexander, remember Max from Living Single, she's also in the movie Get Out. She'll be in the building as a host, the intro host, to have the conversations about the movie, the significance of the movie. We will be screening Get Out. Again, it is free, everyone. Remember, food is free. Movie experience is free. Conversation afterwards is free. You all know I normally facilitate that conversation. We were so fortunate last month, and even screening Black Wall Street, we had over 100 guests, roughly about 100. So definitely I believe that the building will be packed on tonight to have that experience. And it is the intro into tomorrow. Tomorrow, as I share with everyone, it's on my social media, and it's free again. You can still register. You can call 313-491-0003. Again, 313-491-0003. And it's our Stop Suicide Forum. Miss Alexander will be there giving the keynote that morning. We start at 8:30. It's going to be at Grace Community Church. That's located at 21001 Maross Road. That's Detroit 48238. 36, I'm sorry. Again, at 8:30 a.m., there's going to be breakfast, not continental. Breakfast will be provided because we want you to come out and get some understanding. And we'll also have a workshop. It's a QPR workshop that we're going to be providing that is free. You're going to get an hour's worth of training and receive a certificate. QPR, if you all don't know, question, persuade, and refer. So when someone says something that might trigger, you can ask another question. Then you can say, well, you know what? Maybe that's not the way you should look at it. I'm honoring you right where you are and how you feel. But in this moment, that feeling could just be what it is. And what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, or what happens in the next hour if we give it a chance. And then that there's a referral. I share with you the importance of being a connector, being a gateway, because we had a phone call, as I shared last week. My office team member got the line, ran back to me and said, Collette, there's a young lady on the line that has an issue with her niece who is in middle school who attempted suicide. Can you speak with her? And so I got on the line. She was actually, as I shared with you, en route to the school, didn't know what to do, and remembered our event, had our flyer, and called. And so I was so fortunate to connect her with one of our trained specialists, Sonia Thompson. Good morning to you, Sonia, and all the staff and team. And she helped walk her through the process to get to the school, how to handle the situation, the referral process, and then the follow-up process, you all. It is that simple. And so my desire for us, even on today in our conversations, is to question why we do what we do, question why we think the way that we think, and then persuade you that if indeed I believe, and yes, this is Coffee and Conversation with Collette, so as I believe, perhaps you should look at things a little different, so it can be different for you. Your outcomes can be different. So I'm going to question, then I'm going to persuade you to be open to look at things the way I'm presenting them, to maybe even change the basis of how you look at and receive what I give you, because I share with you that if I love you, if I'm truthful in my intent, the sincerity of my intent, and I love you and you know that, then you shouldn't even have the guards up to wonder and to receive how I give you information or how I communicate with you as something negative. I don't even want you to have that mindset and that perspective of how to receive information, because it's not even in that vein. It should be that if we're having a conversation and you know that I care about you and you know that I love you, that everything that I'm giving to the best of my ability is out of truth and love and to gain understanding and to communicate. And I believe that's what is missing with us in so many of our life dynamics. I had to learn how to communicate. I share with y'all that I'm a conversationalist. That's part of my gifting and what I do in my day to day. But my personal, talking about how I feel, creating levels of vulnerability, my desires, not so much. I'm not very good at that. I'm working to be better, but maybe that's your love language that we're talking about, how you love, how you show how you love. So I'm working to be better with that, because I work to show how I, through my actions. So I believe that what I do shows you more so than what I say. My actions show, and then perhaps it's reciprocated. That's how I communicate, but I'm getting better in the conversational part to gain understanding. And I share that with you. So that is what I hope, everyone. And so as we enter into our dialogue for today, again, I want to bring up, for those of you who missed yesterday, TED Talks. The TED Talks Lagos series, there's a series of TED Talks around this world that delve into different issues, and it allows the presenters to give their perspectives, their truths within the body, a group of individuals, to be able to share and for all of us to grow. And so what started off as a small initiative is now an international initiative. And there's a clip from TED Talks Lagos that talks about your mental preparedness, how to prepare your mind, the importance of strong mental health, and people of color, how we sometimes overshadow that. We miss that. We throw that to the side. And so it's about a 9-minute clip. I really want us to bring that back in this morning. I'd ask for your indulgence in watching that clip, because I want that information to sink in with you as we continue on for the next hour or so with who we are, our mental health, the health of who we are as total well-being, full individuals, because then that determines how we move in all other areas of our lives. The political decisions that you make, the community decisions that you make, more personal, the familiar decisions that you make, individual decisions that you make, who you believe yourself to be, is a direct relationship to your mental health. So we're going to go to the clip. We'll be back, okay? Take a second to enjoy the clip.
Last year was hell. It was my first time eating Nigerian jollof. Actually, in all seriousness, I was going through a lot of personal turmoil. Faced with enormous stress, I suffered an anxiety attack. On some days, I could do no work. On other days, I just wanted to lay in my bed and cry. My doctor asked if I'd like to speak with a mental health professional about my stress and anxiety. Mental health? I clammed up and violently shook my head in protest. I felt a profound sense of shame. I felt the weight of stigma. I have a loving, supportive family and incredibly loyal friends, yet I could not entertain the idea of speaking to anyone about my feeling of pain. I felt suffocated by the rigid architecture of our African masculinity. People have real problems, Sangu. Get over yourself. The first time I heard mental health, I was a boarding school student, fresh off the boat from Ghana at the Petty School in New Jersey. I had just gone through the brutal experience of losing 7 loved ones in the same month. The school nurse, concerned about what I had gone through, God bless her soul, she inquired about my mental health. Is she mental? I thought. Does she not know I'm an African man? Like Okonkwo and Things Fall Apart, we African men neither process nor express our emotions. We deal with our problems. We deal with our problems. I called my brother and laughed about Oyibo people, white people, and their strange diseases, depression, ADD, and those weird things. Growing up in West Africa, when people use the term mental, what came to mind was a madman with dirty dreadlocked hair, bumbling around half naked on the streets. We all know this man. Our parents warned us about him. Mommy, why is he mad? Drugs. If you even look at drugs, you end up like him. Come down with pneumonia, and your mother will rush you to the nearest hospital for medical treatment. But dare to declare depression, and your local pastor will be driving out demons and blaming witches in your village. According to the World Health Organization, mental health is about being able to cope with the normal stresses of life, to work productively and fruitfully, and to be able to make a contribution to your community. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and our social well-being. Globally, 75% of all mental illness cases can be found in low-income countries. Yet most African governments invest less than 1% of their healthcare budget on mental health. Even worse, we have a severe shortage of psychiatrists in Africa. Nigeria, for example, is estimated to have 200 in a country of almost 200 million. In all of Africa, 90% of our people lack access to treatment. As a result, we suffer in solitude, silenced by stigma. We as Africans often respond to mental health with distance, ignorance, guilt, fear, and anger. In a study conducted by Aboleda Flores, directly asking what is the cause of mental illness, 34% of Nigerian respondents cited drug misuse. 19% said divine wrath and the will of God. 12% witchcraft and spiritual possession. But few cited other known causes of mental illness, like genetics, socioeconomic status, war, conflict, or the loss of a loved one. The stigmatization against mental illness often results in the ostracizing and demonizing of sufferers. Photojournalist Robin Hammond has documented some of these abuses in Uganda, in Somalia, and here in Nigeria. For me, the stigma is personal. In 2009, I received a frantic call in the middle of the night. My best friend in the world, a brilliant, philosophical, charming, hip young man, was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I witnessed some of the friends we'd grown up with recoil. I heard the snickers. I heard the whispers. Did you hear he has gone mad? He started to derogatory, demeaning commentary about his condition, words we would never say about someone with cancer or someone with malaria. Somehow, when it comes to mental illness, Our ignorance eviscerates all empathy. I stood by his side as his community isolated him, but our love never wavered. Tacitly, I became passionate about mental health, inspired by his plight. I helped found the Mental Health Special Interest Alumni Group at my college. And during my tenure as a resident tutor in graduate school, I supported many undergraduates with their mental health challenges. I saw African students struggle and unable to speak to anyone. Even with this knowledge and with their stories in tow, I in turn struggled and could not speak to anyone when I faced my own anxiety. So deep is our fear of being the madman. All of us, but we Africans especially, need to realize that our mental struggles do not detract from our virility, nor does our trauma taint our strength. We need to see mental health as important as physical health. We need to stop suffering in silence. We must stop stigmatizing disease and traumatizing the afflicted. Talk to your friends. Talk to your loved ones. Talk to health professionals. Be vulnerable. Do so with the confidence that you are not alone. Speak up if you're struggling. Being honest about how we feel does not make us weak. It makes us human. It is time to end the stigma associated with mental illness. So the next time you hear mental, do not just think of the madman. Think of me. Thank you.
Did you get some of those key words? Words that actually I presented to us in our intro conversation: learning how to communicate, vulnerability. I'm going to take from his wording directly, quote, being honest about how we feel makes us human, not weak. So, is the perception that we always want people to think that we have it together? Is it the understanding that specifically as people of color in these United States of America that we cannot give the image that we don't have it together, that we always have to be in control? Is that a image that we created to project upon this world? Because I believe, and I'm going to challenge you to think this morning, it clearly wasn't one that they've given to us, because our role was to never be empowered. Our role wasn't to ever walk as citizens, but merely residents or surplus labor to the growing wealth of this nation that did not include us, but was built by us, made by us, consistently motivated by us. The culture creates the fabric and fiber of the existence of where we are in today in every aspect of industry. Yet we don't walk in that. We don't know that. Everyone else does. But who gives us the image that we have to have it together? Do you ever think about that? Do you ever question your upbringing? And give me that indulgence for a minute, because I share with everyone, I'm very conscious. I believe that our foremothers and fathers did the best that they could with what they had based on their upbringings. But there's a part of the conversation with me, and I was speaking to my mother, great morning to my parents as well, that at some point when you know the catalyst for your actions and why you think the way that you do, but when it is not as favorable as it should be, when do you take on the onus to change it? So you can't just keep saying, well, I do this because when I was young I didn't have, or I do this. Okay, that's, and I understood, understandable. But when you can do better, you should do better. That's the beauty of growth. And that's the beauty of saying, you know what, if I'm in a society in which it wasn't built for me, how do I make it work? Now, you know where I'm going with this. I'm going into our political space, because when we have a mindset that consistently believes that someone who has oppressed us, whose only mission was to bring us to a space or to capture those that were already here, as the stories are told, because we weren't there to actually experience it, but to use and rape and pillage for personal gain, then you can't believe that that same group, that same force, that same policy, that same politic will now on these days in 2018 make it better for you. That it's going to save you. They're going to come on in with the Superman cape and I'm going to save you. I'm going to create legislation that's going to work for you. I'm flying high and I'm looking low and I'm going to make life better for you. I'm going to create open borders so that you can come and reap these benefits of this great America. Not negator, period. And if you had that ideology, you really need to start questioning where you got it from. Do you wonder why our urban communities are in the shape that they're in? And even more so, do you even question that the rural communities are in the same position? Do you ever question and think that, I know you think you're in a silo, that you think it's just black and brown people, but it's not? Because that's the image that they want you to believe to control your mental mind state, because it's all about social economic positioning. It's about class, not color. But if I keep you divided, thinking that it's about color, then you'll never unite as a class and realize your full potential, never realize your power. Because we talk about on this show that I need us to change the narrative. I don't need us to keep giving our power away. We keep waiting and waiting. You keep waiting and waiting. I'm going to say it yet again. You keep waiting and waiting for someone to come in on this magic carpet ride and have everything that's going to make it great for you, as opposed to you doing the work. We're caught up in what they say. We're caught up in what they've given us. Did you ever question that if what we were given was so great, why are we still oppressed? Why do the likes of us who are living in Flint still are not made whole? I share with you the report that was posted off of the New York Times that there were some, at this point, accounted for 200 and so verse fetal deaths because of the water contamination and poisoning that they were able to document. So you know, if they're citing almost 300, there's probably easily 1,000. That there's a direct impact of when you are ingesting things literally and figuratively, what you ingest by taking and putting in, and what you ingest in your psyche through your mind, what you hear, what you see, has an impact. It can poison you. It can taint your mental health. Do you see how you put it together? Do you see how it's coming together? That if you are not whole in your mental state, you cannot be assured that you can address whatever comes your way in this life and have a different outcome. And I'm going to throw it out there. And I know a lot of you all don't like this, and that's okay, because we can always talk about it. The church plays a key role in that mental health as well. We're given the moral code. Black and brown people who are oppressed are given the moral code. You hear me? What did I tell you? The slave master said at that time, he took the Bible. Slaves obey your masters. Didn't acknowledge the part of, every man should be set free, set equal. You weren't going to do that, but I'm going to give you the text because I gave you the Bible, because you're supposed to believe that in this life, that is what you're supposed to do. That's your lot, and your reward would be when you die. We talked about the dynamics of there were grave sites, especially around the times and in every community where slaves were, if you were honored and the opportunity to be buried, where bodies were faced towards the continent, because they knew that in life they didn't have their freedoms, but their final death act was the rebellion to face your tombstones, change and shift to face back towards Africa. So we realized that at any given time, there could be something different. We could show something different. We talked about the breaking of the buck. That's alive today. And it's so prevalent today that we have been ingrained in our mental health that we have to oppress and break each other. And I'm going to give it to us. And ladies, I know you don't like it. But women, you speak truth to power. You speak life into your household, into your family, into your loved ones, into your man. You speak life into him. Now, I'm not saying that you have to, you don't have to be a doormat. I'm not saying that. But you really need to understand the role that you have in your relationships. That the encouragement that you give, that the support that you give, that the resources that you give, that the comfort and the peace that you create will change the dynamics in your household. Can I get that? But see, we're led to believe that we don't need anybody. So we're led to believe, oh, I don't need the man. Oh, he ain't no good. I share with everyone. If you prescribe to that, I don't care where you are. I don't know a woman anywhere who does not want to be covered by anyone in my circle, who does not want to be covered by a man. Let me just say that. I don't care how successful she is, however you define success, money, status, title, job, materialistic things, and everyone wants to have someone that covers them. You know, that's our rightful place. Now I'm going to go biblical with you, and you all might have a problem with that. But what? Man was made after God's image. Man was. Woman, wombed man, that's woman, womb, created with a womb, was made out of man. Man was made from the dust of the ground. The woman came out of the man. The natural progression is to be in line with the man. Do you understand how important that is? And I'm not saying every man, I'm talking about the right man. To be in line with the right man, you will have balance that you've never had before. You will have peace and joy and comfort and safety like never before, and you will function on cylinders that you have never experienced. I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm telling y'all. It will line up. Everything will line up. You have to be truthful about it if it's important to you to have that mental health. But a lot of times we make decisions and we listen to people that we shouldn't be listening to. One time a pastor said in a sermon, and he couldn't have said it any better, you got to be clear where you get your advice from. He said he was counseling a couple, and the wife was talking about all these things and issues that she had, and then with her husband and why she did the things that she did. And he said, well, where did you get your information from? And she said her mother. And his response was, well, how successful, how long has your mother been married? It was, oh, well, she's not married. She's never been married. He said, well, why are you listening to her? She can't give you advice of what you would and would not take, where you would and would not go. She's not equipped. And so I always wonder, and I shared with y'all the truths of my familial dynamic of us growing up and saying, you know, why this happened, why that happened, and listening to people. And I laugh with my mother, and I'm so thankful for her and her transparency and her growth. But she'll say to this day, I mean, I don't know why I was listening. Because if you look at what people do and how they live versus what they say. So if no one is encouraging you in the midst of your challenges, especially in relationships, that, hey, you need to communicate. Hey, you need to understand, maybe just be patient, just be still. Learn how to not fight. You can articulate for your position. You never give your voice away, but learn how to do it in such a way that you can gain understanding. And all the people that are telling you, no, they're still married. That's what I used to tell my mother. All these people that you was listening to, they didn't ever not have their households. They didn't ever not have a husband, but they're sitting up trying to tell you what to do. Do you ever wonder that? I was sharing with my cousin sister, great amazing morning to you, Maria, the truths of her transparency, and so thankful to her because I've never been married. And when she's sharing dynamics with me, it's easy if I was that type of person to say, oh yeah, girl, da 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 da. Versus when she was going through her challenges, as we all go through life challenges, I said, you know what? I support you. All you need to know is I support you. I love you. I need you whole and healthy to make the best decisions. And who am I to have an opinion about anything that I have not experienced? Who am I? My job is to love and support you and to never alienate you. If you didn't take anything from the clip, what did he say? We're so quick to look at things and to look at labels and to alienate people because of diagnosis, feelings, issues. We all have issues. We're human. Hello, I know a lot of you want to believe that you're not, but we're human. And so in the midst of our humanness, they will come up. We're products of our environment. You have to understand what fuels you, how you look at things. The red or the green pill? Are you living in truth and realities, or are you living in a facade of what you want things to be? And then that's how you create your day-to-days based off of your perception. Your perception is reality. If you're constantly told, oh, and blessed, you all know my amazing Aunt Jeanette. Great morning, Aunt Jay. I love her joy. Even in the midst of her Alzheimer's, even in the midst of her dementia, even in the midst of her schizophrenia, I love her joy. And in speaking with her and having time with her, it just has allowed me to understand how valuable our thoughts are and how valuable the time is and how important the images are and how important it is to speak about what you feel, because if you don't, your understanding might not be what it is, and you can make drastic life decisions. Drastic. Or the ability to not say it can have an immediate impact on you because you internalize. Do you all believe that if you don't speak it, that it doesn't have an impact? All it does is fester inside of you. And then it'll roll out into how you're going to snap at people. You're going to end up doing stuff. You might lean on to other things that numb the pain, and makes you think things are going to go away. There are no healthy outcomes from not acknowledging what is going on in your mind. It's just not. And I just really want you to think about this. For the times that you don't want to, for the times that you want to look and say, oh, my upbringing, my experience was this, or it was bad, or if it was ever, do you realize that it shapes you? Sometimes the best people were brought out. It's like the diamond, right? The diamond doesn't start off as this sparkling, luster-filled, valuable gem. It's a dark piece of coal that has to be shaped and molded and polished and created. So they ever realize that the brilliance of who you are as a diamond was shaped through your adversities, was shaped through your ability to understand the environment in which you were brought up in, but know that that's not where you had to be. And it takes a very strong, unique person to be able to do that. Not everybody can do it. What they say, certain things are for everybody, but I can promise you that no matter where you are in your life, that space right then cannot have to be as traumatic. I believe that everyone who's grown up in an urban environment has been dealing with stresses. I think that everyone is suffering from PTSD. They do. And for those of you that it might help you out, Social Security now has they have a couple of new categories that they have identified where you could receive some types of assistance. You talk about how to make government work for you. Did you know that? PTSD is one of them. Alzheimer's is one of them that you can now apply if it is proven. And I believe that all of us have a story that you can go to the doctor. Your anxiety, your issues, your stresses, your pains were brought off by the pressures. Your life pressures were brought on, and certain medication was prescribed, or certain therapies were prescribed for you. I believe the majority of the people who are dealing with medical cannabis have some issues that were created from life stresses because we don't know how to deal with them. And then they internalize they go within us, and it manifests itself. Heart issues, head issues, back issues, because something's going on the inside. A great analogy for you. That's just like when you digest certain things, you ingest them. If they don't break down appropriately, you might create gas. What happens? It's uncomfortable. It's horrible. It feels like something is erupting in you a lot of times, especially until you can release it. So a lot of us walk around in a space because what we put inside of us, whether consciously or unconsciously, is having some impacts on us. Are you all there with me this morning? Are you seeing how this is all being put together? So what we're putting inside of us, what we're open to, and it's the simplest of things. What you listen to in the car, what you watch, what you read, the conversations that you have. They're important. And if you have the opportunity to be in conversation with someone, don't you want it to be the best conversation possible, as opposed to, in my words, some shenanigans? You just want to hee-haw to hee-haw. The most valuable assets and resources that we have are our time. Priceless. So it should be for an outcome. It should be for something favorable. It should be for something better. And so, everyone, that is what my charge is. And I know everyone is texting me. I hate that we are not having the dialogue that we normally have because the phones are normally all lit, unless you all just don't want to talk to me this morning. And that's fine too. You might just be listening. As I shared with Cheryl Rogers, a young lady that I met a couple of days ago out of Hamtramck, who's been watching the show for 3 years, she said, "You know, Collette, I just listen. I should call in, but I just like to listen." And so I am so thankful for that opportunity that you believe that in just listening you will gain something, because that's my desire, that we gain something from our conversations, that they are not in vain. And so that I wanted to revisit from yesterday, because I think that how we look at things is the most important, can I say it again? Most important aspect of our processing, how we think through it. I want us to think through it. As a man thinketh, so is he. Think and grow rich. It doesn't say rat race, process, and grow rich. It doesn't say listen to what everybody else says and grow rich. It doesn't say regurgitate what they say and grow rich. And rich is relevant depending on how you define it. But think. Think. I challenge us all to think. And so we want it to be better. That is, for me, the intro to our top of the hour. And then, it's Freestyle Friday. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. It's some hot topics in the news. I'm going to throw a couple of them out there. Definitely want your opinion. We're going to talk about presidential pardons. Donald Trump is on the zigs. Yeah, I said it. But we had this conversation. He is showing you, I believe Donald Trump's presidency is the epitome of who the white man's privilege is in America, who he believes himself to be. And he is showing you that he's doing whatever he wants, however he wants, and you all are just supposed to eat it and take it. To this day, you can't tell me, someone can't call in and tell me what he's done legislatively. You can tell me how he tweeted. We can talk about how he removed the invitation from the Eagles to come. We got a clip. We can talk about the conversations, the feud that Steph Curry has with Trump. We can talk about his pardons. That he even said that he could pardon himself. And he'll try to do it. And I don't think that there's anyone who will stop him. Who has stopped him? Because in the midst of all of that, you're still talking about the privilege of being white in America and a male. And those who are majority of Congress members, white men, are still not fighting them. But what are they choosing to do? They're choosing to remove themselves from the seat. So I'm still not going to go against you. I'm just going to remove myself from office, and then I'll become a lobbyist, and then I'll do it that way. Because you all are clear that the lobbying, the monies are the geppettos to the policy. That's the power from the policy. You also know that one of the Koch brothers, he's going to remove himself because he's old. He's dealing with some health challenges, and so he's going to remove himself from his family dynasty. And you all know that they're behind all of the majority of Republican policy that has been pushed, because they're using their monies, their means, their wealth to influence policy. I tell you all the time, protest without policy is not equivalent to power. So think about that equation that you used to have in math, where you have, just think about it, I'm putting the words, protest plus policy does not, or it equals power. But then, when you do the equal sign and do the slash, if you have protest plus, and then there's a blank line. Come on, you all know your equations in math. You all can envision what I'm talking about. Protest without policy and money does not yield you power. Do you get that? And so that's where we are right now. But he's talking about a pardon. So is he going to pardon Kwame Kilpatrick? I heard there's some rumblings, there's some conversations that he's going to pardon Kwame. Do you all think that? Do you think that what the sentencing was worthy of the crime? Would you be okay if he pardoned Kwame? Please, other celebrities have used their power to have people pardoned. We're going to go to a clip after the break to talk about what pardoning looks like, the history of pardoning. You all know, I brought it to your attention, the great boxer with Jack Johnson, because of the efforts of Sylvester Stallone, who played Rocky, and the family, how some 70 plus years later, after the death of world-renowned boxer Jack Johnson. He was pardoned. Young lady Alice was a Jackson Johnson through the request of Kim Kardashian. After 22 years, she was pardoned. What do y'all think about pardons? Is he talking about pardoning Martha Stewart? You're going to use your influence. We don't use our influence to have the right types of impact, but I promise you, it's a prime example of what you can do, how you can change. What does it look like? How you can consistently make the situation work for you. He's going to show America how it's going to be great again. And great meaning how I'm going to obtain more wealth for me. Do you realize that's the preemptus to America? The greatness of the four fathers, 8 to 10 companies, the controlling powers of America and making it great. So we're going to make it great and our influence and our power to oppress you, to make you believe that all you need to do is aspire for this American dream by going through our blueprint. Come on, you guys. It's the art of the deal. Then it was the art of the comeback. You want me to keep going? I want you to think about it. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to take the calls. Then we're going to talk about pardoning and anything else. Medicaid. You all know that our Governor Snyder, there's an election coming 60 days out, but Governor Snyder is right here at approving, the new work hours that are associated with the new Medicaid. Yeah, he believes that you should work at least 80 hours. Some people have to work 80 hours a month to keep your Medicaid benefits. Do you want to talk about that? I'm just asking. Do you know that under Ben Carson, they're talking about rent going up for HUD families? So HUD rent going up. Do you want to talk about that? I'm just asking. And then there's some other things I'm going to throw in there. And more importantly, what you want to talk about. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It's the top of the hour. You're still tuned in to Coffee and Conversation with Collette. We'll be right back.